Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is my absolute pleasure to be opening the third annual World Sustainable Procurement Day 2024. My name is Mélissa de Roquebrune. I am the Executive Director of SPP, the Sustainable Procurement Pledge. I don't want to take too much time because we have a lot of content to go through. We have 24 sessions. We have 99 speakers coming together today over the next 24 hours to be speaking with you for procurement, by procurement. Truly some amazing people coming to share content, to share case studies, tools, some really practical knowledge. And I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody who's come together to pull this together for you. We have an amazing team at Supplier Day who is here for you over the next 24 hours to help you with all your technical questions and any needs that you may have. The SPP team, the volunteers, all the speakers. It's going to be a really amazing 24 hours over the next day. We are going to start with an amazing session coming to you this evening. And I also want to say, we are seeing for the first time today at WSPD more live watch parties than we have ever seen, which really started with Saimoni here, who sent us the first picture of a live watch party 3 years ago now. And we are seeing some companies who are doing this across the world in their offices, in homes. And we also see that we have a few hundred people coming together in The Hague around the Impact Summit to be watching many of these sessions live. So it is a bigger, better, incredible World Sustainable Procurement Day this year, and I'm really thrilled to be welcoming all of you. So with that, enjoy, have a wonderful 24 hours. I hope you stay for many, many sessions. I hope you take advantage of all the resources in the library. And if you do miss some of the sessions, they're going to be live for the next 2 weeks on this platform or on our YouTube channel forevermore. So with that, I pass it on to you. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Mélissa. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us. For the past few years, we've been kind of participants in this global celebration. And the good thing now is that we got the call to present, and we are so happy. So here in Suva, it's a bit cloudy. It's cloudy. There's some floods. Schools are closed, and these are things, the impacts of climate change. Our presentation for today will be into 2 phases. One is we'll be talking about the sustainable procurement and how we're implementing it in Fiji from a public procurement point of view. The second phase will be done by Krishan, who will be looking at some of our projects, in particular the Drua Incubator projects. That's an innovative program that is here in Fiji. Yeah? Maybe we go to the next slide. So just before we get going, the session will be recorded, and we encourage interaction and questions. If you can, please spread the word online. If we can log in all the way from Fiji, then it's easier, in more developed countries, and we are building a community of 1 million. So your speakers today will be, I'm the head of procurement for Fiji Procurement Office, the central government agency in Fiji. Assisting me will be Mateo, who is a procurement analyst here at the Fiji Procurement Office. And we also have Krishan Pratap, who is the manager for the Drua Incubator project, an innovative project that we have here in Fiji that deals with climate change and climate change adaptation. So climate change is a growing issue in Fiji, and the Pacific and globally. And when I say why I started with Fiji is because the impact of climate change on small island economies is disproportionate to our contribution to the problem. So we have, few resources that are to climate change impacts. we now have stronger tropical cyclones. Previously Category 4 tropical cyclone was rare. Now a Category 5 cyclone is normal. And we do not necessarily have the financial buffer and infrastructure that larger countries have. So a key point to consider is many nations rely heavily on tourism, and climate change threatens, the very things that draw tourists, our beautiful beaches, our coral reefs, and our stable weather. And natural disasters, when it comes on, it kind of cripple our economy. So small islands are especially vulnerable because a large portion of our land and population is concentrated in low-lying coastal areas. So sea level, when it translates to direct loss of land and vital infrastructure. So if you go on to the next slide. So one of the things that add on to the climate issue is the rapid urbanization, and this adds another layer of complexity to the climate change challenge. So even in Fiji, we've seen that there's a growth in urban population moving from rural areas. Urban centers, concentrate populations, and already straining limited resources. As we have seen in Fiji, rapid urbanizations often lead to informal settlements where people build home in high-risk areas. And it puts themselves into greater risk of floods. So the issue now, for example, for today, schools are shut down because the schools are being used for evacuation centers. There has been no school in Fiji for the past 2 days because of they're being used for evacuation centers. And these are some of the things that we live with every day. As cities grow, you need better infrastructure. And we often lack the funds to invest in such large-scale projects. So you go to the next slide. Procurement is in the driving seat. That's what we feel. Procurement is now in the driving seat. And procurement is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So public procurement can be a powerful tool for promoting sustainable practices. So governments like us, through our purchasing power, can send stock signals to the market. And by prioritizing sustainable products, services, and works in procurement processes, we can incentivize businesses to innovate and adopt more sustainable practices. So if you go to the next slide, achieving sustainable procurement can be challenging in a small economy. One of the issues is that sustainability functions do not understand procurement, and procurement do not understand sustainability functions. Procurement don't even understand what is sustainability. We've heard lots of speeches around sustainability, but what exactly does sustainability means, and what does it mean when we do procurement? That is one of the issues that we have in Fiji. Next, please. My apologies. There's a delay in my computer. So internally, as we have seen, procurement is not fit for purpose. The current framework, capability needs to be developed. There's lack of resources to support SPP, and this is why Fiji started doing the watching, the World Sustainable Procurement Day 2 years ago. There's lack of data that will help us shape what sustainable procurement should be, and a lot of people assume that it's complex. So externally, there's resistance from stakeholders. One of the issues is that matching our sustainable needs versus our market offer. Is it the same? We may want to have a sustainable product, but does the market offer the product? And then we have data and measurement environment that is not developed in Fiji. And what I gather, it's not developed in most places. And advanced digital procurement resources are not available, and it's some find it's too costly. And one of the issues that we've seen when we were trying to implement sustainable procurement is standard for measuring the sustainable impact varies. Depending on which website you go to, which organization you go to, how you measure the impact of sustainability varies. So sustainability has been a focus in Fiji, but implementation has been limited and consistent. So we've invested in things like renewable energy, we've invested in Build Back Better programs, tree planting projects. We've started to focus on SMEs and women. But we needed something a little bit more, something more than that. So if you go to the next slide, and we feel this is the time to act. There's a commitment for government to sustainable development. There's an increase in awareness of the environmental and social impacts of consumption choices. Businesses are developing and using innovative, sustainable practices now. And there's a demand to improve social outcomes. So these four things, from our view, provides us an impetus to move forward with the sustainable procurement in terms of regulations. So if you go to the next slide. So in Fiji, as you know, we've got some legal frameworks that currently manages our sustainable procurement. There's the Environmental Management Act, there's the Climate Change Act, and there's the procurement regulations. And this is what is currently under review for us to include sustainable procurement. And then there are other policies that are there to assist us in our sustainability development. So this brings us to our starting point. 2 years ago, we were at a starting point and we had 4 pivotal questions, which is in the next slide. And the question that we had was, what are the most important environmental, economic, and social impacts of public procurement in Fiji? What are the best practices for implementing sustainable public procurement? How can we build awareness and capacity for sustainable public procurement? And how can we engage with stakeholders to support sustainable public procurement? So the team got together and we discussed this and we came up with some of what is our way forward based on these 4 pivotal questions. And what came out was, if you go to the next slide, was a roadmap, a simple roadmap that we developed here in Fiji to mainstream sustainability into our procurement regulations. And this is a very broad overview that we've put here. The first one is align. The first thing that we are doing right now, and this is the current thing that we're doing, is aligning the public procurement regulations and policy to sustainable public procurement best practice. So currently we are on a review stage of the regulations. So a lot of countries, they may go with guidelines first or policies. Fiji has gone the other way because we are already doing sustainable practices, but we just need to align these to regulations now. And the next one is to be giving support to government officials and procurement professionals with training and creating sustainable procurement options, which is important. While it's okay to do regulations, the change management aspect of it will ensure the success. And the idea is, as a central procurement agency, for us to drive sustainable public procurement across whole of government. And if we drive it across whole of government, it will then flow on to the private sector. And we intend to collect some data on environmental, economic, and social impacts of public procurement, and then engage with businesses such as businesses, suppliers, and stakeholders to support sustainable public procurement. So this is very briefly what our roadmap looks like. So if you go to the next slide, procurement regulations can provide a foundation for sustainable procurement, as I mentioned. And what does the new regulation look like in Fiji? Well, here in Fiji, we've added sustainable procurement as a procurement principle. We used to have only 5 procurement principles. We've added sustainable public procurement as an actual principle. We've added risk mitigation as a procurement principle. So all agencies that do procurement for the government of Fiji now must have sustainable procurement, must take into account sustainable procurement, and must take into account risk mitigation strategies in their procurement. Before it was it's a good to have. We are moving Fiji into a must have, and we are trying to encourage the participation of disadvantaged groups, community groups, youth groups, groups in the rural areas to participate in government procurement processes. And one of the things that we are trying to remove is clarity on abnormally low bids to encourage suppliers to submit bids that consider social, environmental, and economic factors rather than just the price itself. In terms of our leveraging digital procurement, in the next slide. So what we're working on now is we're publishing supplier code of conduct that includes sustainability. We're using internal documents to promote sustainability requirements. It is now part of the specifications. Previously, it was not. We never really thought about putting it at specifications, but now it's a must that we put it as part of specifications. Either whether you're looking at a social aspect of sustainability or the economic aspect or the environmental aspect, that should now be part of our specifications in procurement. And we've started the supplier self-assessments, where all suppliers who tender in for government jobs have to complete a self-assessment in terms of where their sustainability journey is. So the ultimate target is to collect this data and create a list of suppliers that embed sustainability, so we can have an idea where is Fiji at. And the ultimate idea is to use our e-evaluation tool to automate and streamline some sustainable procurement processes. And it's make it easier for us to track progress towards environmental, economic, and social impacts of public procurement. And really, what we want is to add some sustainability data in our reporting. So currently our reporting do not have sustainability data, and that's something we are working towards in the next year. So I will invite Mr. Pratap just to take you through the Drua Incubator, an innovative project in Fiji. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you so much. So I'll be going through the Drua Incubator initiative from the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. So as you can see, there is a canoe. So the Drua Incubator concept was developed through this canoe, as Fiji has its traditional history in sailing. So this particular canoe used to sail to different islands as a means of communication and transportation of innovative ideas and concepts. So here at Climate Change Division, we have got 4 streams, namely mitigation, oceans, adaptation, and climate finance. So the Drua Incubator roles is to have innovative projects through these 4 streams. For example, through mitigation, we are working with carbon markets with Singapore. So that's an innovative concept that was developed through the Drua Incubator. And for oceans, we are working with blue bonds. And for adaptation, working on loss and damage, and with climate finance, we are hoping to get access to more funding for more transformative projects that are in line with us. So that's basically that's how the concept was developed. Next slide, please. Okay, so what we do here is that first we do the mapping of what the current stage of the problem is in relation to climate change that is affecting the communities. So firstly, we are for the past 2 years, we have been identifying and finding solutions to these problems. So in our next slide, we will see what kind of problems and solutions we have come up with. So for graphical interpretation, or the Drua Incubator has gone through the mapping with different international organizations such as UNDP, UNCDF to get solutions to the problems which Fiji is facing in terms of climate change, apart from mitigation, oceans, adaptation, and climate finance. Next slide, please. In terms of getting the solution, we have got 3 pillars, that is insight, innovation, and influence. By looking at the problem which we are facing through climate change, first we have to have the understanding of the problem, and we have to find the means of addressing those by having innovative projects and other guidelines developed in relation to addressing those issues which are there. And lastly is the influence, how it will influence the general public and what would be their reaction in terms of their action through these projects or the guidelines which we are developing. That would basically incubate, accelerate, and amplify in our local communities. Next slide, please. Okay, so Fiji has got its relocation trust funds, that is through our adaptation team. So currently there are 6 communities in total that has been relocated successfully, and we are planning to relocate another 14 communities through this trust fund. So basically the role of this trust fund is to advocate more on the importance of relocation to the communities which are affected, and also to develop their capacity as well. We have also organized workshops for these communities, as some communities are reluctant to relocate. So that is an issue. In other countries, we see that people are forcefully relocated, but in Fiji we do not do that. So without their permission, we cannot relocate them. So at the moment, we are trying to relocate other 14 communities by providing them capacity building and with mental health initiatives, because it's quite hard for them to relocate from one place to another. And also with that, we have developed the standard of operating procedure as to how these villages or communities will be relocated. And we have our planning guideline as well that was launched last year. So through those guidelines, we will be relocating the other 14 communities successfully. And with the Climate Change Act 2021, we'll be also having the adaptation register as well, which will be developed by December 2025. So we are in process of developing as well. And also our GHG inventory system as well, that will be developed in the coming years. Next slide, please. So looking at the low cost parametric insurance, we have a total of 1,000 beneficiaries for this initiative, and we have partnered with UNCDF under the Drua Incubator initiative with the government of Luxembourg. So we are providing funds to farmers who are affected through the 2 products which are there, which is rainfall and cyclone in terms of the speed of the wind. So at the moment in 2023, we did the first payout to 1,000 benefits with the payout of $200,000 Fijian. So at the moment, Fiji is currently facing flooding. So our team is out there doing data verifications. So we'll be assisting these farmers again who are having this premium. So the premium can be any amount, but for the farmers, it's for $10 Fijian up till $100. And in terms of the beneficiaries, there are 74% women, and also the payout is done through online banking or through the e-wallets. We have also partnered with other agencies such as Sun Insurance and Tower Insurance for better communicate this type of insurance to other locals so that it's readily available, because this was a pilot project which we were doing. So we have partnered with local insurance companies to actually further develop this particular insurance. Next slide, please. For the Drua Incubator Innovation Fund, okay, so firstly I'll be touching into the Blue Etc. grant scheme. We partnered with UNDP for this in terms of having this Blue Bond initiative. So for that initiative, we developed the Blue Etc. grant scheme, whereby we had 8 recipients throughout Fiji focusing on blue economy. So that was their initiative, but the Drua Incubator was part of it. So with that, we had funding available from Government of Luxembourg. So we developed our own. And for the first time, the Government of Fiji, for the Climate Change Division, we did this grant scheme, and we'll be continuing it as well, since we are mapping out other financing agreements as well. We did, for this Drua Innovation Small Grant Scheme, we did mapping, firstly, as to what the current problem Fiji is facing, and we come up with the 2 branches of it, which was loss and damage and gender equality in terms of small, medium enterprises, focusing on private sector. So we received a total of 100 proposals in 4 months, and we selected only 14 as of this included private sector individuals and other NGOs, which were given a fund of 75,000 Fijian dollars. So I have 2 case studies there, case study 1 and 2. So those were our recipients. So for case study 1, Rural Women Economic Empowerment Program. So this particular, it's an NGO. So this particular NGO would be training women in rural areas in terms of agriculture, farming, and other capacity building program in terms of climate resilience and how to upscale their business. The main focus of this grant scheme was to upscale their business in terms of climate change initiative. And also for Juice Fiji, it's a local juice company in Fiji that would be using organic products to actually have the juices produced in partnership with the local farmers that are in Fiji. So with that, there are other recipients as well. We have helped them to upscale their business and also provided them with other training, such as Right Shop, to access more funding, and they will be getting more funding to Fiji Development Bank as soon as we finish our monitoring and evaluation in next 6 months. Next slide, please. For further opportunities, we have been, the Drua Incubator is, we had this agreement of 2-year partnership with Government of Luxembourg, and that would be ending in May. To further enhance our partnership, we would be embedding Drua Incubator to the Fiji government. And at the moment, other opportunities which we are looking at is collaborating with other Pacific Island countries which we are lacking behind. We were doing partnerships with international organizations rather than our own Pacific Islanders. So we have done the mapping as well as to what projects are there, how we are going to collaborate and increase more financial flexibility and more funding available to Fiji's economy to upscale climate initiatives and climate-related projects. We have also got our program development units. They are developing different programs and also getting access to more fundings that are available through other agencies, just such as JEF and GCF. So thank you so much. So that was the end of our presentation. Do you have any questions?
So maybe I can just highlight some of the questions for you that are in the comment section. So the first question is, we have Riaz asking if the roadmap for sustainable procurement could be made available, and if that's something that could be shared.
Yes, definitely. That can be made available and shared.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we'll just email and then
we'll work with you and make sure that it's on the on this platform. There is a library section where we're able to put in some resources, so we'll try and upload that so that it's available for everybody. So the next question is coming in from Christina Silva, and she's asking, do you have any indicators for research and clinical laboratories? Christina, I hope I've read that correctly. So any indicators that are available from a research perspective?
At the moment, we do not have it. Yeah.
Great. So maybe as they become available, Christina, also I do encourage you to get in touch with you. One of the great things about this community is that it is about the connections that we're making. So this conversation as a starter, and then being able to connect you to each other so that you can be having those conversations. Are there any other questions about the presentation or what's happening in Fiji? I know, Saimoni, when we were speaking earlier, getting ready for this session, one of the things that you were highlighting for me is that the work that you're doing is very much also, you're hoping that it's going to be an example for the region and something that could be replicated. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind. Hi, Saimoni. I'm pulling you back in onto the hot seat here. You're on mute. Oh, you're on mute. There, we can hear
so
you.
one of the idea, for a small economy like Fiji, government is a big buyer. So, for example, if government is now putting regulations that we buy certain type of items, then it will start to become available in the market. So that is the idea for us in Fiji. And maybe for a developed country, it's not that big, but for a small country like Fiji, the impact of government purchase is humongous. And that's the idea why we're thinking, if we put this into regulations, the sustainable procurement, this should have flow-on effect to the private sector. Because the biggest buyer is now requiring or demanding sustainable products.
Mm-hmm.
So it should flow on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it was interesting at the beginning of your presentation that you were saying that also the impact of this is something that you're very much seeing on the ground, faster than many of us are seeing in other countries as well. So the urgency for this and for the collaboration of this work to happen is even greater for you, and very tangible. I'm just going back to the chat here, and I see a question coming from Vancouver. And I'm just going to read this out. I appreciate that the first phase of moving towards sustainable public procurement is to align existing systems with prevalent standards. What challenges might come up in Fiji during this stage?
Oh, so I mean, for Fiji, one is a lot of people do not know what sustainability is. They do not know what sustainable procurement actually means. And a lot of people, they think that it's a lot of work. So if I ask someone, who's doing a procurement from a ministry, in Fiji, can you ensure that sustainable procurement is applied? They do not know where to start. So this is why we are putting the regulations, then we're putting out the guidelines, to help people. Because so for some it'll be this is so obvious, but it's for others it's not. And you do not know what you do not know. So this is something that we are trying to do. And that's the biggest issue in Fiji is that there's a lot of misconceptions around what is sustainable procurement. They've heard a lot of speeches around sustainability. They've heard about COP23, COP24, but it's not personalized. They know there's a flood, but they do not really know how will procurement assist. So this is something we are trying to do.
And I think that's something that we talk a lot about. So the power of procurement, and many other procurement professionals or individuals around the world maybe understand the importance of sustainability at the high level, at the macro level, but then bringing it back and realizing the absolute power and responsibility that we then have as procurement to be leveraging that opportunity to be having that impact is definitely something that we're hearing echoed across the world. But we also, I think, sometimes forget that in many countries, the having to embed sustainability as one of our practices is something already accepted, and we're talking about moving on to the how. But there are still a lot of regions where we still have to be considering what is sustainability. That's an important thing to remember.
Yes, I mean that is correct. That is correct. So here in Fiji, as I mentioned before, the schools are closed. It's been closed for the past 2 days. Half the workforce is at home because floods have impacted most of our bridges, most of our roads. So we were the lucky ones that made it to work. And these are some of the realities, that is for a small island nation. As I mentioned, the impact of climate change is disproportionate. Based on our contribution. We contribute so little, yet the impact of the climate change is so high. And this is why we really driving through sustainable procurement in Fiji.
So opening this 24 hours of us coming together as a community with that message of you're feeling it at a disproportionate level. We're seeing 5,000 individuals who signed up to this event. We're going to be spending the next 24 hours coming together and talking about this. From your point of view, what would be the call to action that you would have for everybody joining WSPD?
Well, sustainability is a must. The climate impact is here to stay. So the only issue now, the only thing we can do is how can we slow it down, or how can we adapt to climate change. And the faster we do that, the better for all of us. And for us, for example, in Fiji, given we have a disproportionate impact to our communities, we do not have the cash or the financial resources there to be able to manage these impacts. So these are some of the things that Krishan and have been working on with his team, and so the world is we are all different waves in one ocean.
Absolutely, we are. And as I say this next comment, I also please do put your questions or comments in the chat, and I'll make sure to read them out. But you're saying we're all waves in one ocean, and I think that radical collaboration is something that I'm bringing up quite a bit, that if we don't break down some of the barriers around regions and topics and industries, we're not going to be reaching the objectives that we have between now and 2030. So how can the SPP community be of support to the work that you're doing? How are you hoping to leverage this the power that you're getting from this group?
Oh, so we after discussion, we were actually thinking about starting an SPP community here, because we would need the support, we would need the templates. These are some of the things that we need here in Fiji, because we are actually starting from scratch. So our sustainability journey to date has been what we think should be done. We have not really seen what best practice is, or how it can be improved. So these are some of the things that that we hope to use.
And I think, you're saying you don't know what best practice is. I'm sure in some ways you are leading on best practice and many can learn from you. But absolutely, for those joining us who are new to SPP, we do have a wonderful structure of chapters where we're bringing people together around topic, industry, and region within those chapters. And those are always led by 2 volunteers that are the co-chairs for those. So I think that we don't have a chapter in your region. That would be something that would be fascinating to see. And we often see those chapters collaborating so that we can see some cross-cutting learning and exchange on many topics and many learnings across the different chapters. So there's another question here coming up in the chat from Raul. Thank you, Raul, for putting that in. He's asking, what would your message be to big manufacturing corporations in terms of sustainable procurement? And I think we have many big manufacturing corporations represented in our community. So.
Well, first of all, you have to start somewhere. When you're in such a developed country, you really, you feel the impact of climate change. But, for example, we had Cyclone Winston here in Fiji a few years ago, and it wiped out half the country. Imagine your country's being, half being wiped out. Houses being gone, livelihoods, So it's a big impact.
Yeah.
So what I would request, multinationals, at least start somewhere.
Start somewhere. I think that's, we have big challenges. We have very little time. And I think the message of just taking that first step is a beautiful one. And I think that's a really nice one for our day today, for the next 24 hours. I think we're all going to come away from these sessions with a little bit of learning and maybe just a little idea of where we can start. So to you, Raul, the message is to big manufacturing corporations. It is a simple one, but start somewhere because the impact is happening quickly. Can I ask, is there collaboration with other small island states happening? I know this question came up a little bit earlier. We alluded to it, but can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing within the region? If there will be a chapter coming up in the region in the future, where some collaborations could be coming up?
So we're hoping to start it in Fiji, and then eventually we'll rope in the other small islands like Samoa and Tonga. So currently, what we're doing in Fiji is independent from the other nations. But usually, for small countries in the Pacific, if someone starts something, the rest usually follows. As long as if someone leads the way, then the rest usually follows. So we're hoping that our sustainable procurement journey that we do in Fiji will be followed by the other nations that are in the Pacific and other island nations.
And what has been the biggest challenge for you in the region so far? Where are you pushing the hardest?
Capability. Capability, that's one. 2 is capacity in terms of resources, data, because you would need data. If you are to implement sustainable procurement, you would need data. Analyze data. So these are so you direct your resources to the right places. If not, you'll be like shooting in the dark. So there is one of the issues that we have, and something that we are trying to work on.
And I know this is something you and I talked about getting ready for this session as well. Can you tell me what you're the most proud of? Because you have been a leader in the region. You have been very much thinking beyond the systems and process that you have. There's a few questions that are coming in about big manufacturer, but you are very much working with the reality of your island state and the floods that you're experiencing today, which I'm so sorry about. But can you also, as we're getting close to the end of the session, tell us where you're seeing successes, where you see the power of procurement coming into those successes also, and why you're focusing on procurement?
Okay, so we believe, procurement is where the rubber meets the road. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can do lots of big plans, you can do lots of big budgets, but when the supplier and the buyer come together is the procurement stage. And that is when you can influence, the type of product that is being put out in the market, the type of houses that are being built, that, whether they are cyclone resistant. So for us, this is very important. Yeah.
It's incredible. No, I think the work is incredible. Are there any other questions from the audience so far? Any other insights that we would like from the team? Give it a minute here on the side. So I see there were a couple of questions about big manufacturing. So maybe I'll flip that around too. Is there a role for smaller companies to be playing in this, for the suppliers, for our supply chain? Because definitely there are those big companies and big organizations, but maybe in the spirit of start small, start somewhere. What's the role for the smaller companies?
So in Fiji, one of the things that we are focusing on in terms of sustainability is the smaller SMEs, mm-hmm. Because we feel they are more agile and more flexible to adapt. So compared to a big multinational, the smaller companies are more agile to adapt. Yeah. So so if there's any innovative, sustainable practice, smaller companies would find it easier to adopt or to introduce it. So that's something we're trying to do in Fiji.
That's something to look at also, and something that I was having a conversation about recently is there is the role of the small, more agile organizations to be testing some of these solutions and then bringing those to the bigger manufacturers where then they could be really implemented at scale. So we're really excited about this safe space that is SPP being a space where those two sides can come together and learn from one another. So maybe as you do work in the region to bring that chapter together, that's something that we could be looking at. And hopefully many people who are in this session or in the community can help drive some of that collaboration between those two sides. I'm also just very aware that we always say our pledge is all about the individual, the role of where can I start? So can we hear a little bit about your journey and how you got involved as an individual in this?
Oh, so I mean, as head of procurement, one of my key role is to ensure we move Fiji forward, and because Fiji has been at the forefront of climate change, we felt that we should lead by example. If we are telling everyone else to think about us, we should actually start ourselves, and that is the journey that we're on right now. Yes, you can rely on bigger countries to assist, but you should start. So even though the impact of our sustainable procurement will be so small, the hope is that it resonates with other nations, other small island nations, and then it goes globally. Which is why we are we really want this to go into regulations and not just policy or guidelines. We really wanted to put into law the sustainable procurement and application of it in public procurement.
That's very nice. And I have to tell you again that you, even for SPP, have started some trends. You were the very first to send a picture of a live watch party, of seeing you as a group come together and use this day as a day to highlight the importance of the work that we're doing, highlight the importance of collaboration, and it has absolutely become a trend across this community of almost 15,000 individuals who've joined. So I hope that whoever's watching, if you are watching as a group, send us a picture, because that started in Fiji 3 years ago, and we're loving seeing that coming up as part of this community's DNA. And I think the lessons you've shared with us today are really valuable and something that we'll have to look at. Very exciting to be sharing that learning across, and to see how we can help you to get that work going even faster and connected with the region. So very excited for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody.